When philosopher P.D. Ouspensky first entered George Gurdjieff's apartment in Moscow in 1915, he never imagined that the man with the penetrating gaze would completely change his understanding of being alive. Ouspensky had studied Eastern philosophy for years. But it was only when Gurdjieff uttered a single sentence on that chilly winter afternoon that Ouspensky's life as a thinker changed forever. "You are not awake," Gurdjieff said calmly. "You have never been awake. You are sleeping right now, while you believe you are thinking." What Ouspensky discovered at that moment was not just a philosophical theory. It was devastating evidence that Gurdjieff had identified something no spiritual master had articulated so clearly before. Humanity lives in a state of waking sleep, and consciousness gradually dies long before the physical body stops functioning. George Gurdjieff was never a conventional teacher. He was a walking enigma. Gurdjieff spent decades traveling through Central Asia in search of esoteric knowledge. But it wasn't academic knowledge he sought. It was something much more urgent. The answer to why human beings live like unconscious machines. For years, Ouspensky meticulously documented every encounter with Gurdjieff. He realized that Gurdjieff wanted observable proof. And he had found that proof in something disturbing. People go through their entire lives on autopilot, never truly present. "Observe yourselves for an entire day," Gurdjieff often challenged his students. "You will find it is impossible. You fall asleep every few seconds." It was in 1916, during one of the most intense encounters, that Gurdjieff revealed his most shocking discovery. He had observed that most people permanently lose the ability to be conscious around the age of 30 or 40. It wasn't physical death. It was something much scarier, the death of consciousness while the body continues to function. "People die long before their bodies stop," Gurdjieff explained that night. "They become biological machines executing programmed routines. The spark of real consciousness, that which could be called the awakened soul, simply goes out." Ouspensky was paralyzed. No one had spoken about the opposite, the progressive and irreversible falling asleep of consciousness. To understand what Gurdjieff discovered, we need to delve into one of his most revealing experiments. At the Institute for the Harmonious Development of Man, Gurdjieff conducted the stop exercise. In the middle of any activity, Gurdjieff would shout, "Stop!" Students were supposed to freeze completely, maintaining total awareness of their body position. Most failed in seconds. They returned to the state of automatic sleep. "Do you see?" Gurdjieff would point out. "You can't even maintain consciousness for 30 seconds. And you believe you are living consciously for decades." Gurdjieff had identified 4 states of human consciousness. The first was physical sleep. The second, which most people call being awake, Gurdjieff called waking sleep. The third was self-consciousness. The fourth was objective consciousness. Gurdjieff's most disturbing discovery was about the second state. He had observed that people live completely identified with their automatic thoughts, emotional reactions, and physical habits. "You believe you are the one deciding your thoughts," Gurdjieff would tell students. "But try it. Try not to think of a white bear for 5 minutes. You will find you control absolutely nothing." It was in 1922, in France, that he began to systematically document the process of the death of consciousness. He noticed patterns. People between 25 and 35 still showed moments of genuine consciousness. But after 40, most had completely crystallized into their mechanical personalities. "Consciousness is like a muscle," Gurdjieff explained. "If you don't deliberately exercise it, it atrophies and dies. And the tragedy is that most people never realize this has happened. They keep functioning, but no one is home. The light has gone out." During his final years, Gurdjieff became even more direct about his discoveries. He had identified the exact mechanism of the death of consciousness. Identification. People identify completely with their social roles, their personal histories, their opinions. And when this happens, the consciousness that could observe all this simply disappears. "Look at the people on the streets," Gurdjieff often said in the 1940s. "You will see walking corpses. Bodies functioning perfectly, executing complex tasks, but no real presence behind the eyes. Consciousness died years, perhaps decades ago. Only the body continues its mechanical work." This observation was not metaphorical for Gurdjieff. It was literal. One of Gurdjieff's closest students, René Dommel, documented a particular experiment. Gurdjieff asked him to observe 10 random people for an entire day and try to detect moments of genuine consciousness. Dommel reported something frightening. In hours of observation, he witnessed perhaps 2 or 3 seconds of real presence in each person. This is the horror of the human condition, Gurdjieff concluded before his death in 1949. Not that people die, that is inevitable, but that they die consciously decades before their bodies stop, and they never realize it. In the last months of his life, Gurdjieff became obsessive about conveying one final message. Consciousness can be recovered, but only through brutal and relentless work on oneself. You must remember yourself, he insisted. At every moment, you must make the impossible effort to be present. It is work against all mechanical nature. That is why almost no one succeeds. When Gurdjieff died, he left a disturbing legacy. Through Ouspensky and his other students, his observations on the premature death of consciousness spread worldwide. Psychologists, neuroscientists, and philosophers began investigating what Gurdjieff had intuitively identified: that conscious presence is extraordinarily rare and fragile. Today, the essence of Gurdjieff's discovery remains as disturbing as it was a century ago. Your consciousness is dying right now, while you believe you are alive. The question is not whether this is happening. The question is, will you do something about it before it's too late? If George Gurdjieff's radical journey has touched you, subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments, when was the last time you were genuinely present?